Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Sorry for the technical difficulties. My laptop decided to do its own thing once again. When I went live, it crashed. Then when I got it back up, the audio went out. So forgive me, I was talking, but you couldn't hear me. And I just had to unplug my microphone and plug it back in. You know, these computers, they do what they want to do. My goodness, man. I had the show set up and everything, but as soon as I hit the live button, all these nefarious things started happening. But thank you for everybody who decided to hang around, because I'm here, and I'm here to talk about the fights. The fight just wrapped up a few minutes ago, and we saw Ray Muratalla retain his IBF lightweight title with the majority decision over Andy Cruz in one of the best boxing matches that I've seen between a pure boxer and a pure puncher, or boxer puncher, in a very long time. This was well worth the wait. These two men fought to the best of their abilities, and Andy Cruz, as for the guy who came out on the losing end of this competition, has absolutely nothing to hang his head for, because in 6 professional fights, he challenged for a world title in his 7th fight, never having gone a distance of 10 to 12 rounds in his career as a professional, and he fought valiantly through 12 rounds against probably one of the stronger punchers in the division, in Ray Muratalla. So, with that being said, we're here to talk about the fight card. We're here to talk about the match. And some people may not have enjoyed this, but this was boxing at a high level. I mean, I can't stress enough of how high the level of boxing what you were able to witness this evening, because it was all that and then some. Yeah. And we don't get that very often in the sport, especially in this modern era, where we saw just in one of the, undercard fights, the co-main, where you saw Khalil Cole, who came in for an intercontinental light heavyweight title fight, having missed weight by 8 pounds. So unprofessional, but we're seeing more and more of that. And also was on the winning end of a fight that he should have lost the decision. So, I mean, just as this ended with an exceptional performance by Muratalla and Cruz, boxing still gets in its own way with what we see by these other competitors in the sport. Now, as far as how this fight was scored between the main event fighters, a majority decision victory for Muratalla was probably right. He did finish up stronger, particularly in the 12th round. But there were tight rounds between these two men, and I had it a draw on my scorecard, but I could easily see Muratalla retaining his title, even with the decision. So a draw would have gone to him anyway. And the way that I ended up scoring that a draw is there was give and take, swing rounds, and play interaction between the two, that it's easy to just say, well, one guy is going forward. But how many times have we seen poor decisions with just a guy going forward, but not necessarily doing good work? In this instance, what I noticed in particular was the rounds that Andy Cruz threw his jab. Ray Muratalla couldn't get out of the way of that thing. Cruz could have won this fight on his jab alone, but it's not necessarily his fault. Sometimes you need your corner to pull you through in instances where things are very close. And once again, we had a chance to witness Bozy Ennis, when things are tight, doesn't have a detailed plan to guide his fighters through rounds. His remarks about what to do are very empty. Sentiments of, you got to go and do it now, you got to pick it up, and this and that. It's like, those are not direct instructions for a fighter who is dealing with someone going upside his head or attempting to go upside his head. He's trying to get his breather in. He's trying to get his water. He's trying to be refreshed and go back out into the field of battle. You've got to be able to give him something crystal clear to hold fast to get out there and follow the instructions. All he had to tell Cruz was, your jab will bring you home. Get out there, pump that jab in his face, double up on it, triple up on it, step around. When he steps to you, pop it, step around. All he has to do is say something simple like that. I am so sick and tired of these so-called trainers, guys who are dads of other fighters. Their sons are in the sport, but they don't know the finer points of boxing. What are you doing? A teacher has to find a way to be able to take the curriculum and convey it to the students. If a student is having difficulty understanding, the teacher, the instructor, has to break it down to a factor of where they can receive it. That is a gift, because the well-learned instructors are the best at it, because they can find a way. And you know how you do that? You get interpersonal with them. You observe. What I learned long ago is that there are more than just one or two personality types. There are actually 5. And out of the 5, a person can have a combination of 2 or more. But once you realize that, then you can convey your point to the subject that you're working with. There's already a language barrier for Cruz and the Americans that he's working with in the gym. It's nice to have someone who can be a translator, but it is most important to develop a code of communication that you can defer to on a regular basis, so that that becomes your language of understanding under duress, under pressure, under the circumstances that you may find yourself where you need to bring your fighter through. As a true coach and mentor, it's not a hard thing to do. It's not, because you should desire to be able to make contact instead of having ego and thinking you're a know-it-all and do it my way or I know best. In the Muratalla camp corner during the fight, Robert Garcia was reminding Raymond that he had to continue to apply the pressure. Why? Because if he let up one iota of the applying of pressure, Cruz would be able to outpoint him easily because he's a better boxer. And even though the body work that they were asking, begging Muratalla of, he didn't do as much as they were requesting, because when you get close enough to throw body shots, the other guy can hit you as well. So as we watched and witnessed the back and forth between the two, it was a great style matchup. A very good style matchup. But the issue, once again, and I'll call it out if no one else wants to say it, is the coaching. Yeah. The coaching. Because you have the Garcia camp, who knows exactly what his fighter's limitations are and what his strengths are, and finds a perfect balance in between so that the fighter can maintain the effort of staying in the fight. Cruz was in this fight on his own ability. All of that amateur experience, only 6 professional fights. I can name a number of fighters who would have gotten stopped by Ray Muratalla with that type of background, meaning only 6 professional fights. Had that been Ronnie Shields in Cruz's corner, he wins. Because Shields would tell him the distinctive actions to take to get through. Had it been Buddy McGirt, he would have been able to do the same. I don't like when fighters don't get a chance to do their best because the cornermen aren't the best. We've seen the same out of Bozy Ennis working with his own son in the corner. Man, go out there and get rid of this guy. You got to go out there and you got to go out there and knock him out. How, coach? How? You see, you got to be able to give the instructions, the keys. You know, when the Chicago Bulls were coached by Kevin Lockery with Michael Jordan, he used to say, give the ball to Michael. Stan Albeck would come in and do the same thing. All of them, really, until Phil Jackson came along. Give it to Michael. Give it to Michael. Get out the way. Set a screen for him. Yeah, Michael would do some amazing athletic things on the court and score a lot of buckets. But they still would lose by 3, 5, 10, 15. Because it wasn't a team game. When Phil came along and said, hey, we're going to build this around Michael. Michael is our leader. He's our main piece and everything. But we need people to be able to do specific things around him. We need rebounding. We need defense. We need somebody to be able to hit a shot when Michael is doubled or tripled and he kicks that ball out. We need a guy that can knock the shot down. On the defensive end, we need a guy that can get us the rebound so we could get second and third attempts. Drawing up plans for plays to be run. It's the same with boxing. They said, the announcers, Ennis had told them that they needed to see how Muratalla came out for the first round to know what kind of plan that they were going to impose, because they had several for the fight. Did Andy not fight the same way the entire fight? So where were those game plans at? He did well, but we didn't see anything switch up. Nothing. Muratalla did everything that he could do. And I was able to listen to his post-fight comments. He spoke like he was secure in his victory. But I can guarantee you he was shitting bricks the entire time, because he was in there with a better boxer. The only thing he had going for him was his physicality. Because he wasn't smarter. He wasn't even better. Hen Dog says he tried turning southpaw, but that didn't work. He didn't even need to turn southpaw. All he needed to do was up his jab output and the variation of the jab, not only to the head, to the chest, to the pit of the stomach. When Ray would throw shots, stick that jab up and block it to knock off his timing. I shouldn't have to be on here playing clean up behind someone that's getting paid the big bucks. But I'm telling you, and I've said it to you guys as many times as you all have tuned in to listen to me in post fights or my Tuesday tussle, I tell you all the time, the jab is such a weapon in the sport of boxing, with little emphasis from the trainers and coaches that you see out here. Little emphasis. That man's jab was literally knocking Muratalla back when the right hand that he kept throwing over the top, instead of throwing it straight from the shoulder down the line. Why are you looping your right hand when the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line? Why are you looping it over the top? Why? The whole point of it is, people, at the end of the day, is we watched some pretty damn good boxing. And it would be great to see these guys meet up again at some point, because Cruz is a hell of a fighter. Now you guys can see why Keyshawn Davis does not want to fight him. He stops Keyshawn. As I watched the fight commence, Ray got on a little bit of a run between rounds 6 through 9. But I still was able to give a couple of those rounds to Cruz because of the jab offsetting Ray's momentum. Larry Holmes, the heavyweight champion of the world, beat so many fighters with his jab. It was a weapon. It was a defensive device. It was a point of reference to use when you wanted to rest. Larry had mastered that and is in the history books as a result of what he did with it. If he used it 25% less than he did, he loses certain fights. Period. Flat out. Andy Cruz's jab is so good. I'm sitting there admiring this man's work. And I'm saying to myself, man, he could win that fight on this alone. And he was never in danger of being knocked out. As far as they talking about Ray having punching power and so forth, he's a very good defensive fighter. He doesn't catch a lot of clean shots. He turns with shots. The same things that they gave credit to Lomachenko for being able to do, they don't want to give it to him. But I'll give it to him, because I'm observing everything. If you notice, after the first 3 or 4 rounds, he had an abrasion under his right eye. And it hadn't been quite 6 rounds yet. Even one of the announcers had said, oh boy, that's that eye. It's like, and this is just 6 rounds. It never got worse, did it? It never got worse. Ray was still throwing punches. But something mysteriously happened, right? The fact that Cruz stopped allowing that shot to land cleanly. See how I'm able to tell you that, but they didn't point that out. To the 100 or 200 people that's watching, I appreciate you stopping by my channel to tune in to see what I have to say about the fight. It was a beautiful boxing match between two different styles. But that Andy Cruz is one hell of a boxer, you guys. And please don't misconstrue because he dropped that decision, which, like I said, I had the fight a draw. He could have easily won that fight with a couple of more rounds of Bozy telling him the right thing to do. Instead of saying, oh, you got to pick it up. You got to go in there and push him back. He didn't need to push him back. Anybody out here watching ever watch Pernell Whitaker? Pernell Whitaker was never known for pushing people back. Oh, he'd stand his ground and fight. But he wasn't known for pushing people back. And he fought at lightweight. Huh? Sweet Pea became a master of the angles of turning someone, getting them to lift their feet up and not be planted while he scores and keeps you turning and keeps you off balance. Sticking that southpaw jab in your face and dropping them right hooks to your body and working on the inside. Andy Cruz is every bit as good as that. Bozy can't see that. You can't see that. Roger Mayweather was saying, most people don't know shit about boxing. That was one of the more truer phrases ever mentioned by a former fighter and one who had become a coach and trainer in his own regard. It is called a sweet science for a reason. And if you don't understand how that science works, you're going to be a shit trainer. You can have all the talented people in the world, but you can't take them from here to there, not understanding how this path and journey works. Robert Garcia and his boxing academy is doing tremendous work. Muratalla learned from his fight with Tevin Farmer that you do have to stay on top of guys who are good boxers, because they'll outpoint you and make you look really bad. In that fight against Farmer, they were begging him for more aggression and to let his hands go against Farmer. It appeared that they were prepared to stay on top of Cruz, but Farmer didn't have nowhere near the jab that Cruz has. So we're talking about a razor-thin victory by Muratalla because he was coached to do the things he needed to do, and Cruz wasn't reminded of what he was doing best. So I watched this and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a wonderful fight, man. Muratalla is going to have trouble with other fighters in the division because each one presents different pictures for him. And though Andy may not have had the punching power with single power shots to threaten him, had he increased his jab output and put something behind that jab fiercely and straightened that right hand out, again, something that Bozy could have told him if he understood and knew what to tell him properly, it could have transpired. Now, the co-main event, Khalil Cole and Jesse Hart. Cole shows up at the weigh-in 8 pounds over. I've spoken about these guys missing weight. And I've come up with, I'd like to see fighters who don't make weight suffer a loss on their record. Since we're having so many of them that aren't professional enough, because you sign a contract with boxing. We're fighting this bout to be contested at this weight for these many rounds. So you can't be professional enough to do your job to make the fight happen. You should suffer a loss. It should be a loss, and the other guy should get the lion's share of the purse, even if he's the challenger. Yeah. Cole threw far less punches than Hart did. There were moments in the fight when he didn't really do nothing at all. He even body slammed the man in the third round. A real body slam, some MMA, UFC type of stuff. Why wasn't he disqualified? He may as well have been disqualified coming in 8 pounds over, right? Jesse Hart outboxed him, but what he should have did was pull the Bernard Hopkins, laid there on the canvas like he couldn't finish the fight. My back, my neck. And because he didn't do what he should have done, they robbed him in the end. Giving the fight to the guy who's the cheater, the guy who is the Lunatic is what I call them. Body slamming people. That guy's headed for a bad place, people. You heard it from me. Khalil Cole, a POS in the sport of boxing. There's a special place waiting for fighters like him. And he's on that train. That was horrible. What's the difference in doing that and biting someone? What's the difference in that and doing what you did and coming in 8 pounds overweight? Thomas, I totally agree with that. Hart is another one of the fighters. He's just a dumb fighter. He's a dumb fighter. I watched him through his career, and he's had some situations where you hold your head. And what is with these guys, whether they are punchers or not, they can't put a series of combinations together. What the hell is that? You can't throw more than one or two. Horrible. Yeah, they're messing with my audio again, family. I hear it. I tell you, they do that kind of stuff when they want people to drop off. I got over 500 views. Yeah. I did my Friday night chop session last night with no audio clipping at all. Tonight, it's clipping again. Yeah, Cruz needed Hackett, didn't he? Because Hackett could have pulled him through in that fight. Bozy is garbage. No, people, listen, and I'm not saying that like, oh, I got something against him. I'm critiquing him as a coach in the corner under duress. I've talked about this before. He does not give instructions well under duress. It's one thing to be able to give a fighter critical instructions and directions, and it's another thing to just give them fluff. Come on, man, do it for your family. Do what for my family? In the fight before the co-main, we got a chance to see the return to the ring of Israel Madrimov taking on Luis David Salazar. Now, Salazar is from the Dominican Republic, and they had said that he had been training and sparring with WBC middleweight titleist Carlos Adames. And it looked like Salazar was prepared to compete with Madrimov, who had been off for a duration, having suffered some injuries and also having a medical situation with pneumonia, I think they said it was, where he was having lung problems and everything. So he had been off for a while. And even coming back to this particular fight, they said he wasn't quite 100%. And you could see during the middle to later rounds that Madrimov was having difficulty with his wind. Why wasn't Salazar's corner telling him to work the body more? He did work the body some, but not enough. If you're able to see that the guy is having labored breathing, you go to the body to take his breath away more. Because if he's in the ring, he's okay to go, right? This is a sweet science, but I'm going to tell you something. There's some rotten dummies out there, huh? There's a lot of guys that ain't got it figured out, man. They ain't got it figured out. Now, in the 10th and final round, Madrimov picked it up and really went after Salazar as if he was trying to get a stoppage. But the reason that he was able to do that is because, one, Salazar hadn't put in enough of that work to take his legs or his wind away from him to debilitate him from continuing in the fight. And he knew, too, that it was the last round. So after exerting himself to the degree that he did, that's the last round. So I either get him or I don't. But it was interesting and entertaining at the same time to see Madrimov put in that type of work in that last round, because he was really trying to get dude up out of there. And I didn't give Salazar one round out of that 10 against Madrimov. I had Madrimov winning every round. So it's a good comeback from Madrimov. Glad to see him. And hopefully he can get over his illness so he can return to the ring and fight, quality fights. No, Thomas, Bozy doesn't need to retire. He needs to really open his mind up. He needs to open his mind up. Because there may be things he does well, but giving instructions is not one of them. It's like this. You ever had somebody you say, tell me what happened? And then the person start telling you and they giving you some information that you don't really need to know. You be like, hey, just get to the point, right? Then you can ask another person, tell me what happened. And they say A, B, C, D. And you be like, okay, thank you. That's what I needed. You see that? Now, the first person that I gave the example of, that's Bozy. The second one is the person that gets direct to the point and everything, help you understand things crystal clear. You got it and you gone. That's really needed in boxing. Sometimes that simple instruction can go a long way, man. It makes a difference. That's just like that super welterweight kid, Omari Jones. He fought Jerome Baxter, right? Put Baxter down in the first round, but was having difficulty from that point on. He won a unanimous 6-round decision, but he's got a whole hell of a lot to work on. They messing with the audio again. So overall, with the exception of what happened with Khalil Cole, the fight card was okay. But the main event was very, very entertaining. That was good boxing. I could watch those guys box another 12 rounds. I really enjoyed that. So there's no telling the direction that Cruz may go next. But given how good he is as a fighter, he shouldn't drop too far in the ratings because he's still a top fighter. But I'm going to get ready to get on out of here, guys. I talked about this a little bit and got to get up. Supposed to have some snow falling. I hope I don't have too much snow removal to do in the morning. But I appreciate everybody that came through, including the audience of people that are not the normal folks that check in with Stormy. If you guys came in and you heard any of the commentary that you can appreciate or whatever, give the channel a like. Give us some support because we're trying to grow. If not, you can still share the information or whatever. But we be here on Saturdays after the fights talking about boxing. With that being said, we're going to get on up out of here. I want to say shout out to the mighty LDBC. And we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.